which indirectly condemn the association of materialistic society, friendship and love. People are generally attracted to society, friendship and love, and they make elaborate arrangements and strong endeavors to develop these material contaminations. But to see the Srimurtis of Radha and Krishna is to forget such endeavors for material association. Rupa Goswami composed his words in such a way that he is seemingly praising the material association of friendship and love and was condemning the audience of Srimurti or Govinda. This metaphorical analogy is constructed in such a way that things that seem to be praised are condemned and things that are to be condemned are praised. The actual import of the verse is that one must see the form of Govinda if one at all wants to forget the nonsense of material friendship, love, and society. Sri Rupa Goswami has similarly described the transcendental nature of relishing topics that concerns Krishna. A devotee once said, "It is astonishing that since I have seen the personality of Godhead, who is washed away by the tears of my eyes, there is shivering in my body, and he has made me a failure in executing my material duties." So I'm ending here, skipping some points to the last paragraph to provide some continuity. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord himself says, one should execute the prescribed duties of Varna and Ashram as long as he has not developed spontaneous attachment for hearing about my pastimes and activities. In other words, the prescribed form of Varna and Ashram are ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. All these things are recommended for persons who have not developed Krishna consciousness. In fact, all such activities are recommended in the revealed scriptures only to bring one to the point of Krishna consciousness. But one who has already developed spontaneous attachment of Krishna doesn't require to execute the duties prescribed in the scriptures. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मृतं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वगृहपदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागररघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सागरललिता श्रीविशाखावितंश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनवन् जगत्पति गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो जगत्यानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नीलाचल निवास नित्य परमात्मा परमत्र सुपुत्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय नमः। So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. For so many days, we were relishing Ram Katha, commemorating Ramji's appearance in his birthplace in Ayodhya Dham on the 22nd of January 2024. And for so many days, there's so many wonderful, relishable kathas. And now we are going back to another wonderful topic, which is going to give us that potency so that we could flourish our devotional service. So in this chapter 13 of Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining the 5 potencies which can thrive our devotional service. So our devotional service is, in this age of Kali, is a process, and we are sadhakas, we are practitioners. If we don't practice, we will forget, and we will not be able to thrive our devotional service of bhakti. Bhakti and devotional service and one and the same. So whenever you do some job, for example, there are some potential capabilities which are needed for you to thrive. You need to have good communication skills. You need to understand some of the basic programming language, some database, some UI, some of the very common basic pillars. And if you do know them well to a certain degree, you can thrive. You can thrive for a year or two. But if some of these key elements do not exist, your ability to perform your job diminishes. So some of the key things, when a cricketer is batting, he need to really have a good stance. You need to have a good front foot uh, uh, positioning, back foot positioning. He has to have a good head-eye coordination, and that's all actually. There's nothing beyond that. And likewise, if you're a bowler, there are certain traits, there are certain key catalysts which makes our devotional service thrive. And if these catalysts are not there, there will be challenges in our devotional service. And devotional service is a journey. It's not a certificate you live with forever. Today you're doing well, tomorrow you don't do well, you fall down. And Krishna is very merciful, and he's waiting for us to call out so that he can embrace us. So the potencies are essentially the traits which help you thrive. And what are the 5 traits? And if you strengthen one or two of these, your devotional service will go fine. There is no doubt about it. And who is saying this? I'm not saying it. One of the top 6 Goswamis of our movement after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, he's saying that the 5 traits which help us to thrive our devotional service. It's not as if you've come to this phase, you have got all the qualities, Prabhuji was mentioning, and the 9 processes. So you have the principle, you're already here, you already have a job. Now you have to flourish your job. You already are doing devotional service. And how you can make it potent, how you can strengthen it. So strengthening of devotional service is through these 5 key elements. What are the 5 elements? Residing in Mathura. What it means is residing in a dham, residing in a place where Lord has got his footsteps, where the Lord's golden feet has touched and the soil has tinged with the lotus, and Lord's sweating when he was playing with his brother Balram, when he was killing the demon, is smeared in the wonderful Nysil-like sand of Vrindavan. So it's residing in Dham. That's essentially one key element. We're going to talk about it. The second key element Rupa Goswami is saying is the first key element. If you're attached to a Dham, there are certain aspects because you are around a group of practitioners who do the same thing. So when you rub your shoulders with bright people, your brightness increases. When you rub your shoulders, when your association is not great, you basically fall down. And we spoke a lot about Kaikeyi Maharani. She's such a bright warrior princess and queen. Just by sheer bad association with Manthara, she could just vanish from the top and she could fall down. So it's all about residing in a place where there are like-minded people who are focusing on one and only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second thing is worshipping the deity of the Lord. Why deity worship is important in devotional service? Why offering prayers, offering bhoga to the deity is very important, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Then reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Why that is a key content in our ability to flourish. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And serving devotees. Why serving devotees is important. We're going to discuss about it. And then chanting the holy name, always calling out to the holy name. If you do these traits, or do 2 or 3 of these traits well, your devotional service will work like a charm. And if you don't have this, then you have to look for other things which are not the pillars. You'll do the hard grind. So let's hear it from the Acharyas who has written this beautiful masterpiece and recognize why these 5 things are very important. So as you know, we just saw the appearance or rather reinstallation of Ramji in Ayodhya. And that is the birthplace of the Lord. Wherever Lord has exhibited his incarnations or exhibited his leelas, those places are very pious, and people go to meditate. When we do kirtan, it has an impact, but when you do sankirtan, it has an amplifying impact. Likewise, when you go to dham, you are in the mood of pada sevanam. See, the nine processes of bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam. The pada sevanam is serving the dham or dham vasis. When you are residing in dham, you are actually inculcating the sense of pada sevanam, because the Lord has put his feet there, and you are basically serving the dham or dham vasis in whatever way. Wherever Lord has taken birth, Mayapur, in a different form, in Jagannath Puri or Mathura or Ayodhya, or uh, places where he has exhibited his pastimes, his little pastimes. They are very amplifying in nature, because it purifies. Because when you are along a good association, your outcome is significant. So the second thing is worshiping the deity of the Lord. So what is a deity? For example, deity is a manifestation or the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord, where the Lord is present. Lord takes birth. Lord eats. Lord uh, beautifies himself through his devotees through the process of Shringar. So the Lord has a day to day activity. And here, the impersonalists think Lord doesn't have a personality. The kids in our temple have a personality, and the ignorant impersonalists think that Lord doesn't have a personality, because Lord is not a person. He is Nirakar. He doesn't have a form. When a kid has a personality, he has a way of talking. How can the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who created this beautiful place, doesn't have a personality? So Lord is a person, and the person is present in the deity. So when you are doing service, in the morning, waking up in your homes, or offering something, offering whatever you eat, you first offer, then you build a relationship with the deity. So wherever you go on vacation, you take uh, him with you. If they're big, you probably put them to sleep. So you follow a process where Lord is the owner of the house, and you are a caretaker of the house which is owned by the Lord. So with that mentality, your element of surrender increases. And also in the reference the to this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam chapter, the killing of Aghasur, there is reference, if one, even only once or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind. Here, Aghasur was thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, if the if anybody brings Lord into the mind, one can attain supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasur. What then to be said of those hearts the Supreme Personality of God enters when he appears as incarnation, and those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, by whom all illusion is completely removed. So when you serve the deity in your homes, you basically give them what you eat. Basically, Lord doesn't need what you give them to eat. Lord cares about how you give. Lord doesn't care what you give. Lord cares how you give. With love and devotion, he can accept a leaf or a fruit or a flower. And he has said it. So some of the things you can offer. So you build a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead right from the home. And when you build that, you feel for it. Then you have a relation, whether you have a mood of a child, or like Bal Gopal, or you have the mood of whatever the relationship, the mellow you exhibit in your house. So that is a lasting relationship. And we'll take an example of that lasting relationship in towards the later part, once we go through these five with scriptural references. The third thing is reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Parikshit Maharaj was bitten by the snake and he's about to leave his body in few days, the first thing he recognized that the way in which I should cleanse myself of all the unearthas and go back is to read and recite Srimad Bhagavatam. At the time, if you see some of the nurses who interview you or has given written books about how people, when they die, what kind of feelings, what kind of thoughts they have when the pain, it's very unthinkable that a Krishna conscious devotee like Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted to leave the body by hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam. Completely rejecting all religious activities is actually the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto, second verse. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. The Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So here, Srila Prabhupada in his purport talks about not to focus, not to start Srimad Bhagavatam or start relishing Srimad Bhagavatam from the 10th canto where the Ras Leela is mentioned. In the first chapter, first canto, the Srishti Leela is once you understand how Lord created through Sarga and Visarga, primary creation himself, secondary creation through Brahmaji in the first canto, you'll recognize that the person who created is actually a person. He is an energetic person, and he's so and how from Karnadakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kirodakshaya Vishnu, the evolution started, and from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Brahmaji appears, and so on and so forth. So then you have a complete relishment of the Leelas of the Lord. When Srimad Bhagavatam, because Vyasadeva, when he wrote all the Puranas, all the Upanishads, and he was not happy, when he started exhibiting the pastime of the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam, he felt good at heart because Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless. Amala Purana is a spotless Vedic scripture where Lord's activities are, and when different speakers, different uh, sannyasis, they say Srimad Bhagavatam in a very beautiful way, the heart melts and you are always in control of your connection with the Supreme. And when Srimad Bhagavatam enters through your ear, your heart is melts hearing about the transcendental pastime of the Lord. And if you have a strong desire to hear, speak, read, hear from so many different scriptures, the same verse will be spoken in 20 different ways. And every soul intercepts Srimad Bhagavatam in a very different way. And by hearing different perspective, your cleansing of heart increases because it starts with intaking the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam understanding from your ear. And that's how it's going to benefit you having a good reference point in terms of understanding and relishing. See, most of the time, it's all about building a taste. When you came to US, you never knew that there is something called bagel. Now, folks who are probably coming uh, to India from India, they know that there is bagel because bagel is available. But back 25, 30 years ago, when many folks came, there was no bagel, for example, in India. You came here, you started eating one or two, some of you didn't like, but after 2 3 years in the office, in the people bring and you start taking, then you start building a taste. And many of you probably didn't even had pizza in India 25 30 years, but you grew the taste for pizza and bagel, and now you have a very strong liking. Likewise, Srimad Bhagavatam, if you start building the taste, you'll realize how sweet the pastimes are, how beautifully Vyasadeva has encapsulated those verses. And once you internalize that, your life will be sublime. So, the fourth thing which Rupa Goswami is highlighting is serving a devotee. So, here in this chapter of deliverance of Muchukunda, these are some of the key verses focusing because uh, Nectar of Devotion is actually an amalgamation of so many verses from different places, from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so on and so forth. So, for this subtopic, the verse is from the chapter of deliverance of Muchukunda. When the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attend the association of devotees, and when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of the devotees and Lord of all causes and their effects. So, this is very profound because some of you, all of you, for example, who have come to Krishna consciousness ISKCON, you did not come to Krishna consciousness through probably your Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru. You have come through this through someone who is called Patha Pradarshak Guru. Patha Pradarshak Guru is someone who has brought you into this. And then through interaction, through his association, you started liking and you started, attending programs, and then you kind of, got glued to this wonderful process of Krishna consciousness. So that person who got you connected, he had no personal gain by getting you connected. He is not going to get a bonus or something. He is getting you connected because he has, Bhakti Charu Maharaj says, this Krishna consciousness is a gift and it has to be shared. So when somebody shares that gift with us, it brings us closer. And when we relish and we don't go back to the bad old days of the Friday potlucks and stay with Krishna consciousness, then we realize this has to be spread. And you share this with others. Invite him to a Sunday program, invite him to a Bhakti Vriksha, invite him to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class or the evening, Sangha like this. And then you recognize that if you have been benefited by this, why not have others benefit? So here, in this material life, where we are all wandering all around the place, but the devotees who bring you closer to the Supreme, it awakens the devotion. And that's why, in order to foster devotional service, if you have a liking, if you have a taste for serving the devotees, it will go a long way in your journey of Krishna consciousness. And it's not easy, if you're running around for post, you're running around for position, that will probably not happen. But if you really want to relish Krishna consciousness and you see the different perspective of how different people love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in serving this, because Krishna is multidimensional. There are so many angles to Krishna: prasadam, books, garland, dressing, you name it, Rath Yatra, thousands and thousand ways. People, some devotees have a good liking for gardening, and Srila Prabhupada nominated them to be the gardeners in the ISKCON temple. And today, when you meet with them, they don't hold any position. They're just gardening in one of the temples, and they just relish that taste. So different devotees are touched by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different ways. And when we tap onto that little nerve through which they like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is sublime. Because there are a lot of things about the Supreme Personality of Godhead not everyone knows about. Because Krishna can reveal himself in a very different way depending on the desire of the devotees. A lot of devotees have a liking for one form of deity. Another set of devotees have a liking for another set of deities. There's nothing like, this is higher, this is lower, because Krishna touches devotees in a very different way. And that's why devotees are critical in Krishna consciousness. When Krishna and Balram goes, they go with an entourage. Likewise, when Krishna and Balram and Subhadramai goes in Rath Yatra, they go with hundreds and thousands and millions of people. It's the devotees, because Krishna does extraordinary things through ordinary people. We all are ordinary. Look at Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, very ordinary souls. Rakshas family, you know, um, you know, stepson. If you really go materially, there's a lot to question. But it's Krishna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who make them extraordinary. So Krishna does extraordinary things through ordinary people, and we have to recognize that the devotees are significant in our movement. And once you have attachment to serve the devotees, then we have a devotee. Actually, he brings the squeezer, the trash, the mop squeezer from home in his car, and he will be the last to leave from the temple hall. He will be cleaning at 10 o'clock. Everybody's gone, and he will be basically mopping the entire floor of the temple. And he's not just doing it for a month or 2 months. He's just doing it since 5, 7 years, and that's the service. He has taken the onus of serving the devotees. Serving the devotees, the fourth iconic potency in devotional service. And he is relishing it. He is relishing it. He doesn't want to go to the altar for all you know. If you ask him to go inside and get the mopper, he won't do it, because he brings the mopper from his home. And this mopper squeezer, the yellow one which I am referring to, you might have known. And he just does that service day in, day out, every Sunday evening. So serving a devotee, having a taste to serve devotees is very significant, is very significant. And if we take that service, and that is actually, in my opinion, that is actually the most important service you can ever think of. And then chanting of the holy name. Chanting of the holy name is very personal. It's not social. 32, 64. It's personal, because there are hundreds of incidents by which the calling out the name of the Lord is significant. Jamil, in this chapter, in the 6th canto, 2nd chapter, Jamil uttered the name of his son, who he named as Narayan coincidentally. And because the calling out was so powerful, Vishnuduts came. And so in this topic of these 5 things which you all should pay attention, have a intention to relish the potency of the dham. Every year, make it a point to go to some dham. It will recharge your batteries. Worshipping the deity of the Lord. Start with the picture. Then, if you have a form which is more maintainable, the form that, in the sense that you can dress them up, you can bathe them. So worshipping deity and making a relationship, and reciting, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, 12 canto, 18,000 verses, beautiful subject matter, dialogues between Vidurji, Maitreya Muni, and Kapila Dev, Devahuti, which is going on right now. Beautiful subject matter to really discuss, getting a taste for it, and serving a devotee, and then chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So on the topic of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, see, why Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Why? I'll give you 5, 6 reasons today, so that our faith in the holy name is mentioned. Krityet yat dhayato Vishnu tretayam yajato makhe dwapare paricharyam kalautat harikirtana. That means in the age of Kali, the only option is harikirtana. Kritayat dhayato Vishnu. That means in the age of Satyuga, it is meditation, Satyuga. Tretayam yajato makhe. Sacrifices in the Treta Yuga. Dwapare paricharyam. It means serving the lotus feet in Dwapar Yuga. In Kali Yuga, Kalautat Harikirtana. So the medicine in the age of Kali Yuga is Harikirtana. You cannot take fever medicine when you have a different ailment. You have to take the fever medicine. So in this age of Kali, that is the only medicine. Without that medicine, you'll be just taking some other medication. Okay, you'll be meditating. Some guru says you take meditation, you do, upside down, head down, this and the physical. That's not the real medicine for Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is Kalautat Harikirtana. That means Harikirtana is the only. And also there are so many references. Brihad Naradya Purana says Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Kevalam Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatyannitha. So the references Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. So there is no other way, no other way, no other way. 3 times it is stressed. Hare Nama. That's the only path. Vishnu Purana. Kalau Sankirti Kesavam. Vishnu Purana says Sankirtya. You have to chant. You chant in a congregational manner. And that's what Vishnu Purana says. Kali Santaran Upanishad says Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Sodasanaman, Kali Kalmashanashanam, Nato Paratoper, Sarva Vedeshu Drishtite. That means this Harinam, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, is not someone just created. You can say Radhe Shyam, Hare Nam, Radhe Shyam. You can't say that because it is mentioned in Upanishads that this 16 syllable mantra is for counteracting the contamination of Kali in this age of Kali Yuga. It's mentioned in Upanishad. That's why it's called Maha Mantra. There are many mantras, but the holy name you're chanting every time, 108 times is one round, probably 16 rounds for initiated devotees. It is actually mentioned in Upanishad. So then Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. He's saying, Sukadeva Goswami is saying, Kalar dosya nithe rajan asti hi eka mahan guna kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajit. Sukadeva Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj that there are so many problems with this Kali Yuga. So many problems. There's people are cruel, people don't have compassion, there is gambling everywhere, there is illicit relationship everywhere. It's very down. But it has a good quality. This Kali Yuga has a good qualities. Like say for example, this beautiful verse by Sukadeva Goswami. Sometimes when the teacher puts very tough questions in the exam and the kids they don't know what to do. The best kid answers 40% of the questions correctly. So the 40% is the topper. Very difficult question. So when the mark is regulated, that 40% is a A actually. So this Kali Yuga has a lot of faults. Kali Yuga has a lot of problem. But because it has got a lot of problem, Krishna is accessible through names. You don't need to do meditation. You don't need to do Pada Sevanam in the sense as it is mentioned in that verse which I just went through. Just calling out the name of the Lord is fine. Sometimes when the going gets tough, Lord says, it's very tough anyway because there are so many distractions. Just call out my name. Just call out my name. If you can't do deity worship, just call out my name. If you can't move around because you can't, just in your bed, sit down and call out my name. That's enough. Color dosha ridhe raja. There are so many faults. Asti hi ek mahan guna, but it has got one quality. Just by chanting, you can get the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, Narad Muni, Krishna tells Narad Muni, Mad Bhakta Yatra Gatyanti Tatra Nistami Narad. That means I'm not present with big sages. Lord is saying, Oh Narada, I'm not present in the mountains where there are big sages, in the caves, performing this and that. I'm actually present in the tongue. I dance on the tongue of the devotee who chants my name. Padma Purana says that. So Krishna has packed everything into his name. You'll hear Sachin Tendulkar, he has packed everything to his cover drive, and people will pay money to see him cover drive. So Krishna has put everything in his name, everything in his name. If you utter his name with a call out, he is going to be there. So the power of holy name is significant. And our default setting is Jiber Shwarupa Krishna Rittidas. Our default setting is we are the servant of the Lord. But if you think that we are proprietors, we have the me attitude that this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. You're basically changing the default setting of the computer. When the default setting of the computer is changed, you mess with the computer. Never ever change the default setting without knowing what the computer can. So Jiver Shwarupa Krishna. Our default setting is Jiver, Jiver, person who is a Jiva like us. Shwarup, our real identity is Krishna Nityadas. Our default setting is we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And if you change the default setting, we're in for trouble. So we can go on and on, but I really wanted to talk about deity worship a little bit and glorify one of our 6 Goswamis, who is also the cousin, the brother of the author of this Nectar of Devotion. So here, Sanatan Goswami is very poor materially, and he's asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach, but they are mostly devotees who survive on Madhukari. That means they go beg alms and survive. So he used to have, Madan Mohan deities, and Madan Mohan deities, he was frail, he couldn't get enough Madhukari, and he used to give very basic things. So Lord comes in his dream and says, can you give me a little bit more? You're not giving me enough. Can you give me a little bit more? He used to just put atta in, basic atta on the oven, like you see on the right hand side, and give. So he was very sad that he was unable to serve the deity. So one day, what happened? He was chanting, doing kirtan in Vrindavan, in a hillock, in a hilly area. So just below there was Yamuna. It's a beautiful subject matter for all of us of how deity reciprocates. This is the topic we really want to talk in the next 1 minute. So Yamuna is there. There is a big merchant who has come all the way to sell his stuff. His boat got stuck in the sand of Yamuna, and he's nowhere to go. He was about to take a big loss. So he is looking for help. Then the people over there, they say, his name is Krishna Das Kapoor. He's actually a big merchant. So this Krishna Das Kapoor looks for help, and there the people say, hey, there's a Baba upstairs in the hillock. Just go and ask how he can help. So Krishnadas Kapoor, whose boat is stuck in the sand, goes up the hill. There he meets Sanatan Goswami. They talk. He asks for help. Sanatan Goswami says, only if Madan Mohan can help, then only you can get rid of, your boat can detach from the sand of Yamuna. And the whole night they chanted, they did kirtan, and they prayed to Madan Mohan deity who was present in the hillock, in the hilly area. And spiritually, that night was the best night for Krishnadas Kapoor, the merchant. So next day there was rain and the boat got detangled from the sand. So when Krishnadas Kapoor, the merchant, was leaving Sanatana Goswami, he says, if I will relieve myself, I'll come back to you, Baba. So he goes, the boat is detangled. He goes, sells the merchandise, sells whatever he had, and he made so much profit that after going back from home, he came back and started looking for Sanatan Goswami. And he found Sanatan Goswami. And as everything he had was because of that night's devotion of reciprocation by Madan Mohan, he built this beautiful temple of Madan Mohan along with Sanatan Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami initiated him. And this beautiful temple, the Goswami temples you go to in Vrindavan, this is one of our masterpieces called Madan Mohan Temple. And it has, and this offering Sanatan Goswami used to do, this atta put on the furnace, dried atta put on the furnace as a bhoga to Madan Mohan is still offered there. And the love and devotion Sanatan Goswami had for Madan Mohan is reciprocated. So deity worship is a key element, as Rupa Goswami is saying. It is the 5 most potent elements. There is no limit. If you are, if you have limited resources, Lord is going to accept, because it doesn't matter what you give, it matters how you give. So if you have a potency to build a relationship with the Supreme through the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord, deity, whatever form of deity, it's a very exciting relationship. So we can go on and on, but I just wanted to close by saying that these 5 potent items are critical in furthering, catalyzing our devotional service, staying in a dham, worshiping the deity of the Lord, having a relationship with the Lord, hearing, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the devotee, and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we can go on and on, like to open up for some questions, comments, reflections. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhuji, Dagat Pranam. Can you explain me the meaning of conditioned soul? What does it mean exactly? Or we are a conditioned soul?
Yeah.
Are we a conditioned soul?
Yes, yes. Yes, Mataji. We all are conditioned souls. So let me just say some disturbance. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So Mataji, we all are conditioned souls because we are spirit souls, but we are born but through our upbringing, through our relationships, through our friends, through our relatives, through our interactions, we all are conditioned in certain way. And this conditioning is, you can see the conditioning of all of us through the process of how we behave, our achar and bichar, and of course our dealings. You will see that we all are controlled by different modes. If you think about the three primary colors in the form of the goodness, passion, ignorance, because from the childhood we are conditioned to always win, win at any cost by hook or crook. So that winnability is conditioning. Our ability to sleep late in the dark and ignorance, waking up at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, conditioning, conditioned souls. Waking up very early and chanting the holy name, mode of goodness. So it all depends on how your upbringing is, your relationship, your friendship. And because of all of that, we all have some form of conditioning. Suppose you have 10% of Sattagun, some 50% of Rajogun, and the rest Tamogun. And likewise, everybody have different. And sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you are in Satagun. As the day progresses, some meetings don't go well. You are in a mode of passion. You're trying to give it back to somebody. So we all are conditioned at every point in time. Krishna consciousness detangles us from the conditioning and reduces. So to answer your question, Mataji, we all are conditioned souls. And Krishna consciousness is a way to detangle us and take us back to Godhead. The process is there, and how closely we follow is a testament to that. Does that answer your question, Mataji?
Yes. And Lord body is a transcendental.
Lord's
Lord
body is
body, Krishna's
transcendental.
body is a transcendental because their
Yes,
body and spirit soul is the same.
yes. So they are. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in our heart as soul and super soul. Okay, super soul is none other than Kiro Dakshaya Vishnu, right? We heard about Karna Dakshaya Vishnu,
Yes.
universes come out. Garva Dakshaya Vishnu, he goes into each universe. And then within the universe, there are species. So he is present as Kiro Dakshaya Vishnu in the hearts. So he is present in our heart as Paramatma. So Lord's body is transcendental. Lord's everything is transcendental. Lord's lotus. So Lord is not conditioned. So Lord is called Trigunatit. What is Trigunatit? We are all controlled by gunas, right? Modes I mentioned.
Sattva, Raj,
Lord
and
is
Tamo.
Lord is mentioned. Trigunatit. Atit means he is beyond the three modes. So these material nature modes doesn't have the potency to control the Lord. Lord is beyond it. So Lord is transcendental. He has transcended beyond the modes of material nature. That's why he's transcendental and we are material. Does that help?
Yes. And when he comes back to the earth, he still is a same way. His body is a still.
Yes. So the material modes are very tricky in the sense material we get we have the tendency to lord over the material universe. So that's the reason why we get entangled. We think we are the proprietor. But when Lord comes with a purpose. Lord is not uh, contaminated or polluted or rather affected by the modes of material nature. Even if when he is coming here, he's come here on a purpose, and he, through all his actions, whether he came as Lord Ram or Lord Krishna in the Dwapar Yuga pastime, and Krishna was of course present millions of years ago. That's what he says in Bhagavad Gita. In whatever avatars he has come, Bhamana Dev, for example, Varaha Dev, for example. Varaha Dev, he came as a boar and he lifted Mother Earth in his tusk and killed Hiranyaksha. Likewise, Nishingadev came. So in all the forms of the Lord, he's untouched by the gunas of this material world, and that's why In all the forms, in all the incarnations of the Lord is detached and he is transcendental.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for chanting before the class. It always
It's
brings
my
everybody together when everybody comes into the same mood before we start the discussion.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, here, when we go to Vrindavan, on the trees, we see Sri Radhe written. So is it okay if sometimes we chant Sri Radhe, Sri Radhe, Sri Radhe, or we have to just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra?
Yes, so mm, so when we go to Vrindavan, right? There is a lok katha. So whenever people meet us, they like we say Hare Krishna in our temple, they say Sri Radhe, Sri Radhe, Sri Radhe, like how Mataji is mentioning. See, when we go to Dham, we really do not want to hurt anybody because it will be Dham Aparat. So if we're not chanting there, we're just reciprocating to them by referring to them or saying Sri Radhe, Radhe Radhe. So when we do that, we indulge in some form of love with the Dhambasis. So we're not really practicing that. See, sometimes what happens is what is right, what is wrong. It's by principle. Why Srila Prabhupada asked us to do 16 rounds, whatever be the reason may be, and there are reasons in the ISKCON body of knowledge, but because our acharyas have said it, we follow, because we have a sense of awe and reverence to the acharya. So our acharyas have said, chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama. That was, but when you are in Dham, if you chant once or twice, Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe, or however, some of the locals, they do because they have not been part of our parampara. So we may just say it to not offend them. Sometimes what happens is this offense we end up doing by being egoistic in our ability just because he said it. It's, in my opinion, Mataji, it doesn't hurt to say Radhe Radhe, but we're not chanting every time. We're chanting the holy name. So as long as we come back to our vows and chant regularly, and when we go to Vrindavan with the Dham Vasis, if we exchange some nice relationship, there's nothing wrong in my mind. Is that okay, Mataji?
No, Prabhuji, my question was not going to Vrindavan and chanting when you are in your hometown and you have finished your regular chanting, your 16 rounds, like in times of difficulties, in times of happiness, instead of chanting the whole mantra, we can just say Shri Radhe, Shri Radhe, Shri Radhe, Shukrana, or Shri Radhe, please help me, or like that way. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. So Mataji, there are a lot of prayers, and see, we have some regulated lifestyle. Our acharyas have mentioned that do the full Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 times, and we have to abide by that because we have taken vows for that. So it's not needed to do that. If to a question, if you have a prayer in mind, Sri Radhe, thank you for helping me out. You are in distress or whatever it is. It's a prayer actually, and there is nothing wrong because we have so many prayers. Before we joined ISKCON, you probably didn't had the Vaishnav prayers. So does it mean that we don't do prayers? No, nobody has told us not to do the prayers. It's recommended to do Vaishnav prayers. It's very good for us, but our chanting of the holy name is primary. And if you have that as a additional prayer, prayers gives us boost. It gives us a catalytic impression, gives us strength. And if Mataji, prayer is giving you strength, our acharyas have never said no to uttering prayers because you're glorifying Lord's name, you're calling out to Lord's name. So there's nothing wrong in my mind. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
If
Krishna,
I may,
Dandavat Pranam, all Krishna.
Dandavad Jai Prabhupada. Actually, if I am not mistaken, and maybe Sameshwar Prabhu can put more light on this, is Radhe Radhe is something which is exclusive for the Brajbasis. And Brajbasis are not ordinary like us. They are Krishna's associates. They are highly, highly elevated people. Now, this term of Radhe Radhe is only for them. And in one sense, if we are uttering Radhe Radhe, and many a times it becomes, I don't know if I can use the word fashionable, but it would be more like an imitation. So we have to be very careful, especially as you said nicely about the dham. You neither make friends nor you make enemies with a dham vasi. You remain respectful. But if, let's say, Mataji says that I come home and I'm saying Radhe Radhe or calling out, it may be the influence of having been to the dham or staying there, but that is something which should be avoided. And sticking with what the acharyas have given, whatever is, acharyas, and even the first is Prabhupada, what Prabhupada has given, then that helps from knowingly or unknowingly committing any offense or whatever. So this Radhe Radhe thing is not ordinary. It is only, my understanding is it's reserved for the Brajbasis. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing. So I thought Mataji was asking Radhe Radhe and something Sukurana means thank you or something. I thought it was a prayer, but this Radhe Radhe uh, is very common in Varsana, in Vrindavan, but they are souls, as Prabhuji mentioned. They are ahead of our times. They have a different relationship, and trying to imitate them is not going to help us because we don't know enough about their upbringing, the conditioning Mataji asked. So better not to tread. But if there is a prayer, I don't know which prayer, a devotee or Mataji was referring to. If there is such a prayer, I thought the question was around that. But this uttering uh, or referring or to somebody with Radhe Radhe, it often becomes we generally in our temple, whenever we see someone, we say Hare Krishna. But some devotees I have seen have a tendency to say Radhe Radhe. So when they say, to kind of welcome them, to have a complimentary relationship, we may say once or twice, but it should not be permanent in our house or in our personal capacity as imitating something, and that is not recommended generally. Anything, this Krishna consciousness is a personal within the heart thing. It's not an imitation. It's your relationship with the Supreme. So as long as that is fostered, it's good. Imitation may be avoided. Thank you for providing that comment. Any other thoughts, reflections?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams, Jai Shri
Hare Krishna,
Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam, all Krishna Prabhupada.
Continuing on Niro Mataji's question about conditioned souls, there's many places in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna explains that a jiva can transcend the modes of material nature, and simply by performing pure devotional service, by transcending the modes of material nature, one becomes unconditioned and liberated. Is that actually possible to live in the material body and yet at the same time transcend the modes of material nature? I can understand how once you leave your body, your soul can transcend the three modes of material nature, particularly when you go to the spiritual world. But can we say on earth, literally transcend the modes of material nature?
Yeah, great question, Prabhu. So what happens when we transcend? It basically shows in our behavior. So when when Srila Prabhupada came to this country, he came with so much of difficulty. All his achar, vichar, and prachar were aligned. So he was transcending. He was going beyond. So there are extremely powerful souls in our movement who have gone into trance. Gaur Gobind Maharaj, in the last days, he went into the trance. He was explaining the relationship between Lord Jagannath and Srimati Radharani, and he went onto trance. So he transcended, and then he left the body. So the question is very important, because if we are transcending the modes, that means we are not controlled by goodness or passion or ignorance. It is a very unique thing. In our day-to-day life, in our uh, material life, where there are so many challenges, it is unthinkable, but it's not impossible. To Prabhuji's Murari Prabhu's reflection, it's not impossible. There are souls who have done it. Srila Prabhupada is an example. Is during his final days, he was transcending all the pain. And if you see the last days, he was uttering the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And you will see in that video, our Jagannath Maharaj is there, young, in that video. So he was transcending. He is a very higher, elevated devotee. So in that situation, he was in trance. Gaur Gobind Maharaj was in trance. So but to Mataji's point, it's not easy. Quite a lot of people, all of us, I'm not undermining anyone, but in the day-to-day life, there is so much of challenges. You're leading a life, paying bills, this, that is very, very difficult. Even devotional service will help us cleanse it, will escape from it, but it needs a very pure soul to transcend it. So 0.0001% may be transcending, but 99.999% are conditioned in my thought process. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, I think that's part of the problem. I'm so impure and I haven't realized even that I'm not this body, that I can't, it's so bewildering to even consider the idea that, I could transcend the modes of material nature, what to speak of just, having the realization that I'm not this body, like I'm stuck suffering, with pain and such. And, I was wondering, like, is it actually possible in the material world? But I understand uh, your explanation. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we can end here, Prabhuji. Mr. Prabhu, or any other comments if you want to opine, please unmute. Otherwise, we can end here. Beautiful subject matter. Thank you for your questions. It's very enlightening, and all your thoughts are very appropriate, because there is no right or wrong answer in Krishna consciousness. It's the love you bring to the table with Krishna in your relationship that will seal the deal. Otherwise, where is Kevat, where is Shabari, and where is so there is no yes, no. In Krishna consciousness, Krishna can reveal himself any way he wants. So any other thoughts before?
Raji, there was one question from Slagar Balam Prabhu on the chat. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. Let me see. Hare Krishna Puji Dandavat Pranam. Since Krishna resides in our heart as the Supreme Soul Paramatma, would it be easier to perceive him in this form rather than as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan? So, Paramatma is a super soul. And what is the size of the super soul? 1 by 1 10,000 of the tip of the hair, right? So you take the tip of a hair, divide it by 100 pieces, and then divide by 100 more pieces. Take one of that and divide. So that's the size of the soul. So the Prabhuji's question, Sudhakar Prabhuji's question, very nice question, is can we perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Paramatma in our hearts? Whenever we are doing something and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is watching, and you are about to commit a wrong thing, and you recognize in your consciousness that the Paramatma is watching, then you step away and don't do it. When you are speeding, you're doing a wrong thing, and you realize that even if the cops are not seeing, the Supreme is seeing, you slow down. So in that respect, you can perceive it. But the question has a second part to it. The question has, can we perceive him rather than the Bhagavan form, right? When you talk about Bhagavan, Bhagavan is a person. He has a shape. Sometimes he's in Tribhangi form as Shyam Sundar. Sometimes he's in Choka form as Lord Jagannath. Sometimes he is going on a Sankirtan party like Gaur Nitai. The form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives you a personality to build a relationship with. That is more apparent. But having a relationship with Paramatma, the invisible, the 1 by 1/10,000 of the tip of a hair, is a very conscious effort. It's not a seamless effort. You have a beautiful form of the Lord in your house. You come in, you build a relationship. Oh, have I given lunch to him? Have I given breakfast to him? It's a conscious relationship, which is seamless. But the speeding example, where he is in our heart and he's always watching, is okay. It's not seamless. It's you have to do work to think that there is Lord. So that's the reason why in this age of Kali, bhakti is an expression of love. It has to be expressed. Without expressing, it's very difficult to kind of be good. So a practical method is to showcase devotional service. Through the expression of showcasing devotional service, we can build a relationship rather than thinking that Paramatma is watching. It is definitely possible. Nothing is impossible in spirituality. But a practical method is to think about Krishna as a form. But if you are always conscious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart as Paramatma, then if it is doable, it's okay. And often it is not doable, practically speaking, which is why we have this processes, the association, the books, the chanting and diet, ABCD of Krishna consciousness. And that's why beautiful deities, once we see him in one color and next day we see him in different color, we tend to think and relate to him. So that gives you that element of building a relationship. Does that answer your question, Prabhu? Or we want to talk more about it? Thank you, Prabhu. I saw your message. Any other comments?
Thank you for a wonderful question, wonderful answer also. I just want to add to that a little more to usually the three kinds of realizations that one can have is Brahmedi, Paramatmedi, Bhagavanedi, Shabde. Usually the personalist, they come to the realization of, the Brahman. The Paramatma, who can realize is more the yogis, those who are meditating upon the Supreme. they can perceive and realize in the form of Paramatma in their heart. So that's a 400 Vishnu form that can perceive in their heart. So Supreme Lord reveals that into the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, who can actually perceive the Lord. It's a very difficult process. Arjuna was mentioning it when Krishna mentioned all these things. One has to have celibacy completely, should not eat too much, should not eat less, should not sleep too much, should not sleep less, go to the forest and observe celibacy throughout the life, and then sit on a kusha grass, which is higher than, not too high, and completely dedicate upon the Supreme Lord and meditate upon the Supreme Lord, chanting the mantra Om, bringing that to close the eyes half and focus on that mantra to the forehead, and then meditate on that. This is the way that he can completely meditate upon the Lord with that mantra Omkar, and that mantra Omkar, then they bring that Lord. Then finally, it's been after long, difficult years, and then he can realize. So any times if he fall down, or any times if he deviate this path, he can easily fall down. And also Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was doing this. Vishwamitra was meditating and of this Omkar, the mantra, then meditating upon the Lord, and then 60,000 years after, then the Vishwamitra fall down after the tingling sounds of Menaka. So this is the very, very difficult process. It's not an easy process. As Prabhuji mentioned that it's easy process, especially in this age of Kali. One who sincerely chant the holy name and engage in the loving devotional service, seeing that Lord in the deity form or Vigraha form, that is more easier than any other processes. Even knowledge, one has to come. Mahunam Janmana Mande Gyanavanam. So after many, many lifetimes, that one can perceive the Supreme Lord. Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kachidadasiddhe Adadiyabhisiddhanam Kachid Mamit. Out of many, many thousands of. So the best way to realize the Bhagavan, that what we, our Acharyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed this, by this process of chanting and by the process of engaging and remembering and meditating upon the Lord, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, is all devotional service. Only through that devotional service, loving devotional service, one can perceive very easily that Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are so many examples. Devotees even talk to the Lord. Devotees see the Lord. Devotees hear the Lord. So there are so many examples out there. So yeah, it's a wonderful question. Thank you. Wanted to add some points to that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Manam to everyone. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, today's class is very wonderful, but I have a question yesterday related to yesterday's class. I did not express that yesterday. So my question is Vibhishan.
Yeah.
Vibhishan is still not alive. I heard that. And sometimes there is some past time is in with Jagannath Puri. Vibhishan came every day or some every 15 days or something like that. I heard that Vibhishan came to Jagannath Puri to darshan Bhagavan Jagannath. Uh, Generally, that is the first times I've seen that. I have seen from the YouTube or something. I heard that. So Vibhishan, if the Vibhishan is alive, Vibhishan, where is that Vibhishan? Vibhishan is not in Sri Lanka, right? So where is Vibhishan is ruling, and or where is Vibhishan right
Okay.
now?
Good. I would. A good point. Actually, see, again, we can come back to the yogi. There is a yogi called the Maha Avatar Babaji. He's almost 1500 years old. So he is in his original Surup, or we can say that there is a Siddhi in yoga called Anima and Lekhima. In this Siddhi of Anima, he can be smallest like an atom. He can be in this form. But at the same time, that anytime he wished to come back to his original or in this form, he can also attain any form that he can attain. So there are many devotees in the Himalayas. There are 700 years, 600 years, 500 years. They are all there. So they have siddhi. They can be in invisible form, and that's also at the same time whenever they want, they can be in the visible form. That's why many times these yogis, they appear and disappear, and they also can be in the various other planes of this material universes. Some can be into this Janalog, some can be in the Tapalog, those who are meditating upon this Supreme Lord Tapa, and Janalog, the great personalities. So that's why it's not that it's just a myth or something like that. Oh, they were there. No, they are there into these various planes and the planets. Like Kimpurusha Lok. Kimpurusha Lok is actually not visible through our ordinary material eyes, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. There are Kimpurusha Varsha. Varsha means like Bharat Varsha, the tract of land or tract of places that is there. And then those inhabitants of those plains, they live there. So like that, the Janalok, Tapalok, Martyalok, and heavenly loks, Bhuvar, Bhuvaswa, the plane for the ghostly people, the plane for the heavenly, the demigods, and the Devadevadas, and the great personalities like Tapalok, Janalok, Maharlok. Maharlok means the great personalities. They are all still there. And Lord visits, he says that Lord even visits there, these places, because the Lord wants to see his devotees. So like that, the Vibhishan and the great personalities like Hanumanji and all, they are Chiranjeevis, they are eternally there. And why? Because of their devotion to the Supreme Lord. So as is mentioned that yogis can attain those siddhis. Similarly, the bhakti yogi or the devotee of the Lord can also have all these siddhis, all these yogas, all the siddhis by the devotion. The Lord is pleased in such a way that they also can attain this. And many yogis, many bhakti yogis even live for lots of years, thousands of years. They also live. They can come, they can travel, like in this city, they can travel from one place to another. I was hearing this one, Shankaracharya, when Shankaracharya was in Kashi, and when he got this that information and intuition that Shankaracharya's mother is going to, leave the body. Immediately, Shankaracharya then took the form and appeared before the mother's deathbed immediately. And like that, Shankaracharya, there is a story, Shankaracharya could enter into the another's body with that yoga siddhi. So like that, devotees have that kind of siddhi can have. That's in a very pure state. Devotees can, like Hanumanji, have that all potencies like that. So great devotees can have, especially Vibhishanji, and even in this Sandeepani Muni was teaching the same yoga to Krishna and Balaram. Same yoga siddhi to Krishna and Balaram and Sandeepani Muni. But they apply, and that's why great. There are so many sages still out there, and they're all in this form and in this invisible form. They are serving the lordships or meditating upon Supreme Lord. We may not see it on our eyes, but that they are. So this is the greatness of these scriptures, transcendental scripture or Bhagavatam, that which reveals this transcendental knowledge. We think that okay, this is just a mundane, no, this we compare everything, but this is the greatness of our scriptures, that which goes beyond our perception. It gives us that wonderful transcendental understanding, and that's becoming true in all sense and day-to-day life. So like that, devotees are always there. Devotees are there in the different planetary system, different planes, when they are Chiranjeevis, when they are always trying to serve the Lord, they all attain. But the devotees, those who are pure devotees of the Lord, that Lord even requested Vibhishan to come. Lord even requested Hanumanji to come to the abode of Vaikuntha, abode of the Ayodhya. But they said that no, that we would like to serve you eternally. That's what is they are trying to do, serve. And even if go to the abode of their what to do is eternally serve the Lord, but they wanted to bring everybody else to the Krishna consciousness. That's still Hanumanji is doing. Hanumanji is there with whenever there is a devotion. Lord Ram's name is chanted, Hanumanji is there. So bringing everybody to, that's the ideal pure devotee does it. So they are eternal. They get all the siddhis like this. They are in their own plane, and spiritual or Janalok, Mahalok, Tapalok, and various planes on this planet as well. So we may not see it with our naked eyes, but that doesn't mean that nothing beyond our naked eyes. There are a lot of things beyond our naked eyes.
Yes, Prabhu, very nicely you explained. And just I want to add something here, that I heard that in Jagannath Puri, Vibhishan came, and as a
Yeah,
proof,
yeah,
also he
yes,
gave one. What is that? One ring to
yeah,
some Brahmana.
yes, yes,
That ring already exists still now in Puri. So
yes,
that, so question is that, Vibhishan is still now, Vibhishan is a pure devotee, but Vibhishan is not ruling any kingdom right now, right?
yeah, of course, yeah, no, yeah,
Okay, so he's not ruling any kingdom right
no,
now,
no,
or he's ruling the kingdom still now.
no. He is not ruling any kingdom or anything.
Okay.
He, so the time changed, right? It was Treta Yuga, and this was the time frame. The Vibhishan was ruling the Lanka, but the time appeared. It is the time to completely. So even the rulers were there. They were not even ruling for like in their lifetime. They may rule for them. Then, like as our Shastra says that when there is a 50 years old, then you leave everything and go to forest, and then you meditate upon the Supreme Lord, engage in the devotional service completely, and then they transform their even their spirit material body to the spiritual body, and they get all the siddhis and the yogas. Then whenever they want to come back to this form, they come back to that form and then go back to their invisible form and things like that. So yeah, I mean, again, the ruling is all is, it is how many years, millions of years past now, right?
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam
No
for
problem.
explaining this. Dandavat
Hare,
Pranam to everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Anjana here.
Krishna, yeah.
Just for Ashish Prabhuji, right? He was talking about that the Chiranjeevi, if you like, we know Vibhishana or Lord Hanuman, and I heard I maybe Pandavas also. So, like he saw on YouTube, there
No,
is
no,
answer to that also on
no,
YouTube.
no, no Pandavas. Pandavas are already attained the abode of,
Okay,
as
okay.
per the as per Mahabharata. Yeah. So we should go
I
with the scriptures, not the YouTube. I mean, yeah, I mean,
I mean, on YouTube, I watched maybe last year or something like that. Like these days, so much information is on the internet, but there is answer to that somewhere around Om Parvat, or as you mentioned, the Kailash. I forgot now, but it is somewhere there. If he wants, he can search on that and he will find the answer.
yeah, no, not the Pandavas. Pandavas already attained the Lord, and
Okay.
they are not
Mhm.
Chiranjeevi. Only in the Mahabharata, the Chiranjeevi is only that. Ashwatthama is the Chiranjeevi, nobody else.
I think there are 5 or 7 names. Now I'm
Yeah,
forgetting.
there are
But
7 Chiranjeevis. Hanumanji is one, Vishnu is one, and then Ashwatthama is the one, and
okay.
then like that, there are 7 Chiranjeevis.
Okay. And yes,
Parash,
actually, I forgot
Parash,
my question. And this
Parashuram,
was just like,
yeah, Parashuram is also considered as
oh,
Chiranjeevi.
yes, Parishuram, yes.
And Bhagavan Kopila Dev also, right, Prabhu?
Kapila Devi is also, yes.
Mhm. So, Ashish Prabhuji, if you can type and search on YouTube, or you will find the answer. It is there, that link, that video I watched few years back.
Okay, okay, Prabhu. Mataji.
Mhm.
Dandavat. Dandavat.
And yes. And I forgot my question. Yes, my question about today's class, as it began with the Dham, like one of the devotional service kind, we should visit Dham. So the feeling, basically, like if we every time, or like frequently after listening to 5-7, like these classes, I came back to the same feeling. We go to the temple, we go to the dham, but when we come back, that you know how when we leave our home, go to the hostel, and that homesickness kind of feeling, that kind of feeling. So if we go to the dham and then we don't want to come back, or that feeling of heaviness or something. Same thing when we visit India, we come back in like we feel so light over there, and when we land over here, is some kind of heaviness kind of feeling. I don't know, that's emotional, or I mean that feeling is always it's me, or it's happening to others also, like from temple or from dham or from home. I don't know if it's the right word to say, like homesickness or that kind of. So is, or that's the suffering because of attachment. That's the confusion.
Yeah. So, good question in the sense that when the question is when we leave Dham, for example, Vrindavan Dham or Jagannath Puri Dham or Mayapur Dham or Dwarka Dham, we have a we feel some separation when we come here, and and that is precisely because it is mentioned by Radhanath Maharaj that when we go to Dham, we should look at the Dham not in our material eyes, but with our spiritual eyes, not in our charma chakshu, but in our spiritual eyes. So when our liking for Dham increases by virtue of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or different activities and the 9 processes of bhakti, pada sevanam being serving the Dham and so on and so forth. Earlier, if you see in the childhood, if you have gone to the Dham, you didn't have that feeling. But over a period of time, with your appreciation for Krishna consciousness, where Dhams are glorified, you have that strong feeling. So that's one point. On the contrary, as a second point, there was a devotee who wanted to stay in Dham. And he was constantly telling Gaur Govind Maharaj that, hey, as he was constantly telling Gaur Govind Maharaj, Maharaj, I want to stay in a Dham. I want to go to Mathura and stay there. But Maharaj wanted him to do some other devotional service. So when he became too much emotionally, sentimentally attached to the Dham, Maharaj told him, why do you want to stay in Mathura? Kamsa was also staying in Mathura. So wherever we dhams, you can stay, you can retire, but if your day-to-day service, your devotional service can be done in a subsequent place, we can basically transport the dham through the feelings, through the acquisition of knowledge, through the ability to recharge the batteries and bring it back and make this place a dham by yourself. So in that sense, feeling of separation is good, but as long as you can make this whole world a dham by virtue of your ability to stay and reinvigorate that spiritual Krishna consciousness, then we should realize that this place we can also make it like dham. That's the reason why Srila Prabhupada, all the temples are either New Nilachal Dham or New Vrindavan Dham in Wheeling, West Virginia, or New Nilachal Dham in Berkeley, or New Mayapur Dham in France. So they have created Dham in the new awakening, Krishna consciousness.
So that is okay, right, Prabhuji? So if the dham over here, instead of thinking about going back like to India or that dham, or I don't know, that kind of feeling, is that okay if there is like special affection for one dham compared to the other dhams?
No, nothing like that. You can have special affection for one dham, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the point is, once in a while, what happens through the daily meandering of a life, our Krishna consciousness or our sadhana needs a boost. or needs some form of battery power. And at the time, if you go on Dham Yatra during Kartik to Vrindavan or Jagannath Puri, you really feel that with that 9 days of stay in Jagannath Puri, in Sri Kshetra Parikrama, or with Radhanath Maharaj or whoever is organizing the yatra, you can really bring those things into practice. It's like you go on a training and get some new skills and apply it here. Likewise, you go on a dham, learn new things, learn wonderful pastimes, see the places, and then relish it when you come back here. And then that's how, Srila Prabhupada built New Vrindavan, built so many wonderful places, uh, transporting that here. So we have to go once in a while, once in a year, but go there, but come back and serve.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Like in my case, like when I came to know about this association, I was going through that phase, like when I was not, like I was kind of losing attachment to go back to India, that craving, or like I was okay over here. And even I visited West Virginia a few times, but I didn't know about this association. I'm talking about like 20 years back. Now with this association and by visiting temple, now I see the messages to visit the dham over there in India, like when I do not want to go to India. So that's kind of like when I was in a state of mind, now it's pushing me back.
Yeah. So Mataji, when it's pushing you back, you're going with the intent for spiritual rejuvenation. You're not going there to stay. You're going there to acquire some taste, and it's not a bad thing, when the call out for a job happens, we travel, right? And for the call out, so it's not this is right, that is right. So we stay wherever we are, and we make the place the dham. So in order to do that, if something is helping us, why not? If a yatra with a spiritual master going with 9,000 devotees, seeing the energy is going to catapult us to a higher spiritual reawakening, why not? Which you have not seen it anyway, because you didn't had. And quite a lot of these things, we didn't had a taste for it long time back. We have all come from India, but we didn't. Whenever we go to Dham, we see it with a different eye. The same place I had gone when I was a child, I didn't had the same kind of affection or awe and reverence like how. So you see with a different eye, and that's awesome. And we all need to experience it.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, like with a group or with like a group of devotees, I may think about going there. But if somebody asks me on my own, if I go there, no, I can. Means I don't have that kind of feeling. I'm okay over here with chanting, and after reading these scriptures and listening to these classes, now I am like I have calmed down with, I'm okay with the chanting or with the devotional services. Even reading, in the beginning I was like very, oh, I want to read more, I want to hear more, but now I'm okay. I'm on a steady pace. It's like that. And you mentioned today something about this sudden like attachment to Srimad Bhagavatam, or coming into sudden connection with the Srimad Bhagavatam. You mentioned in the beginning of today's class. What was that? Can you repeat that?
Sudden liking for Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yes. Or some, you mentioned something like that. I forgot the exact word. Sudden liking or the sudden coming into connection with the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, so Srimad Bhagavatam is all about the pastime of the Lord, right? So what I think I mentioned is often Srimad Bhagavatam, people read the Ras Leela of the Lord, which is the 10th canto, and people have a liking. But that liking is very sentimental because the Ras Leela of the Lord, there is gopis and the relations, they feel very, so whenever there are kathakars, they will resort to that. But what I said is, instead of focusing on the Ras Leela of the Lord of the 10th chapter, we should start from the first canto, first chapter of the Lord, where the Sarga, the primary creation of this universe, and Visarga, the secondary creation of universe, is nicely explained. So what that means is, when we have a tremendous faith on the Creator, on this, then our focus on a very superficial topic. Actually, Ras Leela is not superficial, but you should not go directly there. You should start, and then once you been through the foundational beginnings of Srimad Bhagavatam, your appreciation for Srimad Bhagavatam will increase because you know who the creator is, and then the awe and reverence will set in, and he is not a playful character as in the 10th canto. So that's what I may have said, if that is what you're referring to.
Yes, and yes, as you mentioned about the first canto, just after reading the first canto, and I am so satisfied. And when I did the second one, but the feeling is not same as it was with the first canto. The first canto has so much information, and like I think you can understand how it changes, how it brings the changes in the devotees when they read this.
Yeah. So Vyasadev, who wrote this, is the greatest writer in the whole world, and he is an incarnation of the Supreme. And he placed second canto where he placed, and third canto where it placed. Now we are into third canto in the morning classes, and then we are discussing the dialogue between mother and son, Kapiladev and Devahuti. So, so all I can say is, Mataji, every verse or every canto or every chapter has some powerful takeaways. And maybe we as sometime we as speakers may not have done some very good job in explaining. But when you listen to Gauranga Darshan Das, for example, uh, he is he has written a book from Bhagavatam. So all I'm saying is our appreciation for certain cantos and chapters depends on sometimes in our own consciousness, sometimes who we hear, and if we hear from the right source, it will be awesome. And some of the Maharaj, Radha Govind Maharaj, and so many Maharaj, they give such a powerful perspective. Maybe Lord is testing, and someday they will find a good kathakar for you for second canto, and you'll realize that it is also very blissful in that sense. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Let's end here, Prabhu, if everybody wants to wind up. Maybe Simeswar Prabhu may have stepped out. So we can end here. Yes, Simeswar Prabhu is not there. Let's end here by offering obeisances at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by saying Vancha kalpa taruvasya kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Nectar of devotion ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. All gracious assembled devotees. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.